We saw everything, what is done in Jira and all. Then next is definition of turn. So in Agile, what is definition of turn? Okay. So there is a concept of definition of turn. So definition of turn is an agreement, okay, between the product team on the set of conditions that must be true in order to consider the backlog items are truly done. Now see in sprint, we have moved some user stories to our sprint backlog. Okay, then how it will be said that it is done? How it will be told that it is completed? So that is called definition of done. This term is used in Agile setup. Okay. So here are list of conditions which should be satisfied. Then only it will be said that yeah, it is done. So your code is developed. Obviously, developer will develop the code, compile it, they deploy it in different environments. Then deploy in develop environment, testing environment. Testing will test that environment. Developer will use for development. Then code meet acceptance criteria. Okay, so what is acceptance criteria? Now see, you go to the market. Okay, you go to the market to buy a phone, let's say. So do you blindly buy that phone? Let's just assume you are not doing online shopping, you are going to a phone shop, offline phone store, and you are just going to buy a phone. So do you just take it is sealed, so I am just taking it? No, you are also a client for that shop owner. Okay, just like the client here we have the client for us for our industry. Same when you go to an offline store, mobile store, you are also the client to that particular shop. Now, when there is a phone completely sealed out, you don't directly buy it and come to the home. So what you do, you open the box, you insert the SIM, check calling is happening or not. Then you check some other features. Okay. But if you buy online, you are not doing that. After buying it, you are doing that. But here, when you go to that shop, before buying, you are doing all these things. So do you think that you are buying a phone which is not tested? No. Obviously, that phone would be tested thoroughly by that company who is selling it. Why you are buying? Because manufacturing defect occurs. Do you think that phone which have a manufacturing defect have not gone through the testing cycle? It should have gone through the same testing cycle, same development cycle, which others have done, others have gone through. But still, some have manufacturing defects. For that reason, even though we know that is a big company, it is a trusted company, it has a big teams of tester developers, they have done all the testing and development, still we test the calling is going or not, it's opening or not, we are inserting a SIM, all these activities we are doing. Then we buy that phone. Yes or no? Why? Because we know even though it's a big company, it has a big team, it has gone through all the testing process, still 1 in 1,000 have manufacturing defect. The one which is a manufacturing defect doesn't mean that it has not gone through those processes which other working phones have gone through. It still have gone through the process, still it have a manufacturing defect. It may happen due to other environmental factor which is out of control. Okay, similarly, when you buy the phone, you check the calling is happening. You are not checking the every features of that phone. If you buy a phone, there will be 1,000 features of that phone. You cannot buy while buying. You just check the 1,000 feature. Just 2-3 features you are just checking it, which you think is important. Maybe that is not. Maybe there are some other feature which is important, but you check which you think is important according to your knowledge, which you think is important. Okay. So these features, when you test it and when it is working, then you buy the phone. These features are called acceptance criteria. That means the feature which you as a client think is important, you are testing it. Although there may be other features which are more important to, but as per your knowledge, you are testing. Similarly, here, when you deliver a piece of code or a piece of build to the client, he may do a acceptance criteria. What is acceptance criteria? he may think that yes, I got the product. I just do this. This is working, means then I will take the bill. So that is called acceptance criteria. Okay. So prior to releasing, so you can ask the client what is your acceptance criteria. So that at least you should have done it. Then when you give the client, he may do it again. Okay. Similarly, when you buy the phone, before checking out what happens, sometimes you may have observed the shopkeeper may also just on it, then do a call, then give it to you, because they know from their experience that these are the acceptance criteria of a normal customer who comes to his shop. Got it, everyone? What is acceptance criteria? Fazil, anyone?
Yes.
Yeah, I understand the acceptance one. Can you just repeat what is the definition of done? Is like doing the execution of test case?
Acceptance criteria is the set of features which should be tested. This is not its user. This is criteria. These are some of the features which client thinks that need to be tested before uh, doing a go ahead with the build. Just like you go to the shop and check the call is working, the torch is working, or XYZ is working. That is the acceptance criteria, the list of acceptance criteria given by you to the shop. That call should work, that port should switch on, all this. Understood?
Yeah.
So next is pull request. So pull request is more of development side. So when they do some coding, they put it to a source code management tool like Git and all. So they have pull request and all. So that is not for testing. Then automated unit test. So if there is automation, then unit test are automated. Again, unit test automation is done by developers, not by you. Then automated acceptance test completed and passing, that will be done by the testers. Okay. So you have automated these steps. These are done by automation test. Okay. So this is called as definition of done in Agile. So if your definition of done is met, then you are going to release it to the customer. Okay. Because even though you, just like I gave an example, even though you buy a phone of the same company, 1 in 1,000 have a manufacturing defect. That doesn't mean that the one which has gone through have a manufacturing defect hasn't gone through those processes. It has gone through the same development cycle, it has gone through the same testing cycle. Okay. But due to some environmental issues, it may have, which is out of control, it may happen similarly. Here also. Okay. Next, acceptance criteria you understood. So what is acceptance criteria? Next is understood everyone, right? Acceptance criteria.
Yes, Pratik.
Now see, in the sprint, this is my sprint, right? This is my whole project. So there is a section called reports here. The reports which you saw that is the report for your test case execution. But this is the sprint for your report for your project. See, I'll show you once more so that you'll understand the difference. See, in Jumper scale, where you create the test case, execute the test case and all. There we saw one report. That is the report for test case execution. See, here there is a report, that is the report of your test case execution. But here there is a report. This report is your complete activities done in the project. It's not related to sprint, it's for the whole project. Okay. Maybe it is your anything. It is for a whole project. Okay. So you can see what this reports. This is a bottom chart, what it is for. It is a bottom chart, what is this for. This is sprint report, what is this for. It's a velocity chart, what is for. Then it is cumulative flow diagram, what it is for. So this report basically are not essential for you as a tester. These are majorly and only used by the Scrum Masters. Okay. So it's not essential for you, but still we need to know 2-3 reports which are general interview questions. Okay. But these are more of things which are more concerned to the Scrum Master. Okay. For tester, it's not that important, but 2-3 report we should know. So that I'll tell you. Okay. So there are a lot of report here. Okay. So Epic report, control chart, Epic rundown. So these are all which the Scrum Master needs to know. Okay. So that's a lot of report. Okay. So they use it for different activities. So yeah. But for us, the one which is important is the burn down chart. We have already discussed, if you remember, in the previous classes. Still, I'm telling it once again so that just can recall it. Okay. So burn down chart and velocity. So there is a if there are two type of chart actually. One is burn down chart, one is burn up chart. Okay. So what is burn down chart and what is burn up chart? Okay. So in burn down chart, in the y-axis, we have the number of stories of the sprint. Okay, number of the stories of the sprint, or you can say of the project itself. Okay, if you're creating a burn down chart for the project, then the number of stories, but the complete feature. We are assigning story point, which you have seen in the earlier class. I have assigned story point to each user stories. So in burn down chart, we see how many story point are left and how many days are remaining. Okay. So see, in the let's say sprint only, we have let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 days is a sprint. Obviously, for sprinter of 2 week and working days is 5. So 5 into 2 is 10. So we have 10 days in the sprint. Okay. So it burned out and what happened? How many stories left to the number of days? So in the first day, let's say total story point for the sprint is 10. Okay, including all the features. So 10 will be left because no work will be done, obviously, the start of the sprint. Now, next, when we come to the next sprint, then some storage will get consumed. So let's say here, maybe 6 points are left. Out of this 4 point have been covered. So 6 points are left. So it is here. So at the end, when you reach, it should be 0. That means no story point are left. Understood?
Yeah.
So here in this chart, no story point left and no days are left.
In the last, because at the end of the day, every task should be completed, right? If all the user stories are completed, then how story point will be left? If it is not completed, then it will not meet here. It will be standing somewhere here or something else. Okay, this is the ideal scenario I'm telling. That means you complete all the user stories assigned in the sprint in the particular sprint. No user stories are left.
Oh, okay.
Understood? Puzzle, Daliban?
Yes, it is
Yeah.
clear.
No, you say, I'm just delivering 15 story point. In sprint 2, I have promised 10 story point, but I'm delivering more. I'm giving 15 story point. Okay. Maybe here it may happen that the team is slow, or maybe it happens that someone has resigned, or maybe so may happen that someone has taken unplanned leave. So it may happen that the number of story point delivered is less. In sprint 2, the story point is more. Why? It may happen that someone has told that we will be taking planned leave. So accordingly, that we have told 10 story point it will complete. But due to some reason, he cancelled it planned leave, and he worked on that. So what happened? Whatever features I have pulled into the sprint, I have completed. Again, I have pulled one more user story from the product backlog, which is 5 story points. So I have completed more story points than I have delivered in the sprint. Similarly, it's like we can draw for every sprint. So in sprint 5, everything went fine. So whatever we have promised, exactly the same way we have delivered. So this is the scenario. Okay. So this will give you a velocity. That means with this graph, the client can track how much efficient is the team in all the sprints. Okay. Now in first week sprint, maybe the client may not have idea of the whole team. Okay, maybe even the Scrum Master may not have the idea of the whole team. How efficient the team is. Means what they're promising, are they able to deliver it or not? Okay, but let's say if I have a 10 sprint velocity chart or 15 sprint velocity chart, then it will give me a clear picture that what exactly the team is. They are just promising false promise, or they are just delivering everything in time. It may happen that it may be small up and down, but if it is always with par of what we have promised, then it will also increase the trust of the client also. Because some client will also be a technical guy. He also maybe have the every client obviously will have the access to Jira, but if the client comes technical, so he can directly, even though he may not be doing the test case execution, he can directly come here and see all the reports. Okay. See, we have not completed any sprint, so they are not, the velocity chart is not available. So they will directly come here and see whatever you are doing, whatever you are not doing. See here for burndown chart, we have started from June 26th, the sprint one. Okay. See, it was 3 story point. Still today we have not completed anything till date June 28th. That's still standing at 3 story point. Okay. Clear? What is velocity chart?
Yes.
Yes.
Puzzle? So this velocity chart run down and burn up, maybe they can ask an interview. Okay. For functional testing interview also, this question will come up. Okay. So you need to know this. Then this is everything what you will be doing from application point of view or UI point of view. Okay. You have an application, you tested all it, login functionality, all it, every functionality you are doing. But see, when I am opening this application, just Jira only. Just tell me every time I open this application, why I'm getting the same result every time? When I'm opening the Jira application, why I'm getting the same result every time? If I open burndown chart, this is the graph I'm getting every time. If I open anything here, the same result I'm getting. And from where this data is coming? It's not coming from sky, right? Not it is stored in your system, that it is getting from your system. Even though this thing, if anyone puzzle opens or Dalival opens, you will also see the same thing. That means it is picking it from some but some point which is common to everyone. Some no.
Yes.
It is picking up from some point. That means this data is stored somewhere, right? This data is stored somewhere only because that it is able to face the data, and everyone who is accessing that is seeing the same thing, because it's not stored in a local. You're opening an application, means it's not somewhere that it is floating in the sky and it's coming. It is stored somewhere. The data is also stored somewhere. Now, if I change this, change some value, let's say I've created a test case and change its user or change something. Same thing will be appearing in a Puzzle system and Dalival system. Why? Why? Because the data which is stored, it's also changed in value. The same data is being visible to everyone else. So whatever application you are seeing, that is just the look and feel. That means how it is presenting. But the data, it is stored somewhere which is called database. Okay. When you are creating users for login, you are giving multiple credentials. It is also getting stored in a place from where it will fetch the data. Basically, the application will fetch a data from a particular location or particular setup. Okay. Which is called as database. Understanding or not? Puzzle relevant?
Yes.
Yeah.
there is a database. Just you can, how you can, yeah, let understand in this way. Okay, there is a science book. Okay, there is a science book. Okay, there may be multiple teacher who is teaching from the science book. Let's say there is a university which follow a particular science book. Okay, but to teach that particular science book, there are multiple teachers. Okay, so this multiple teachers you can relate to your multiple systems which you are accessing. Let's say teacher 1 is my system, teacher 2 is your system, teacher 3 is let's say teacher 2 is Taliban system, teacher 3 is the puzzle system. Now, everyone when they teach the same thing. Everyone when they teach the same thing. Why? Because they are teaching what is written in the book. Okay, everyone has read that same book and everyone is teaching us, so they are teaching us the same thing. Everyone is telling the formula of gravity is this. Teacher 1 is telling the same thing, teacher 2 is telling the same thing, teacher 3 is telling the same thing. Why? Because it is written in that particular book and all have read from that particular book. So this books becomes the database and these teachers are the application which we are seeing in our different systems. Now, if tomorrow printing mistake happens in the book and the gravity formula changes, the teachers who are reading from that book and teaching will also, all the 3 teachers will tell me the same wrong formula of that gravity. Yes or no? Now you understood what is a database?
Yeah.
Fazal, understood?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So, if you understood database, then there comes the database management system. Okay. Now, what is a database management system? In database, data are stored. Okay, in a database, data are stored. Now, there needs to be some tool or some setup, okay, which will enable us to manage the database. So, what is this tool called? This is called DBMS, that is Database Management System. That means it will interact, it will access and interact with the database. Okay, and it will maybe it can read from the database. See, you cannot directly access, everyone can, you need a tool or setup to access it, right? You cannot expect a teacher to teach from that book anywhere. You may be standing in a road, you cannot expect it, or standing in the home, you cannot expect it. There is a setup. You have to go to a school or a college to get the knowledge from the teacher. Okay. Similarly, then in DBMS is a software tool, or that is a setup you can say, which is used to manage, the database. That means, what do you mean by manage? Manage means we can read and write from the database. We can manipulate the data in the database. We can change the database. We can do everything in the database. Okay, so that software which is used to manage the database is called as DBMS. That is called Database Management System. Understood, everyone? What
Yes.
is the DBMS?
Yes.
Okay, so that is called a database management system. Now, next, relational model. Now see, database, in database, it can be multiple type in which I can store a data. There can be a multiple ways in which I can store a data. Just see the book, which is a database here. It can be printed in a paper. You can read it. It can be in a PDF format. Okay, which is a different form altogether. But data is getting stored. The same knowledge which is printed in the book is getting stored, even though it's a book or it is a online PDF, or it's just an offline PDF. Okay, so these are the different ways in which the data are getting stored. Similarly, in software industry, when you are storing a data, there are multiple ways in which you can store data. There's no specific way. There is not a single specific way. Understood or not? Means data can be stored in a multiple way. Let's say data can be stored just like you are typing in a book. Some data come, you are directly typing it, or you can store it anyway. But the normal or the most used way is the relational model. Just understand. So you understood what is different models? Models are different way of storing data. How I am storing data? Okay, let's say if you just take an example. I have given one person, just you have gone to these shops, supermarkets from where you buy your normal goods, right? I'm not sure if you have gone to a normal shop or not. Means just forget about normal shop. If you go down, okay. If you go down and if you go to these supermarkets, the same thing, same products are stored in the go down, same products are stored in the supermarket. Okay. Now, just like data, just correlate this product with your data. Same things are stored in the supermarket, same things are stored in the godown. But if I tell you to go to the godown and pick a product, you cannot easily find it and pick it. But if I tell you to go to the supermarket, you can find it and pick it. Why? Because it is stored in such a structural and a easier way that it is easier for you also. Similarly, if I tell store these data, I can store in many ways, but the most effective way and the most used way everywhere is the relational method. Understand? Yes or no? Understood or not? Puzzle,
Yeah,
Hannibal?
so relational is the storing the data in the table form, right? That is called
No,
relational.
I tell you. I just understand what are the models. Relational model, I'll tell you with Excel sheet. Okay. Understood?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, what happens in a relational model? In relational model, we store the data in a structured way and we create a relations. So in the structured way is your table and the tables we create relations also. Let's see how. Okay. So we store data in the tables. Let's say I want to store my customer details who are creating account in my system. Okay. So I need to create two tables for that. One is that login table. This is my login table. So what I'll do in the login table, I'll tell user ID, then username, password. It will be have columns, username, password. User ID, let's say 12, then ST23, C12, username maybe let's say 1, 2, 3, password is this, then the user is just username and then password is let's say some value, then password. So something like this. Okay. Now, see, let understand. So in relational database, how data is stored? Not every data will be stored in a single table. Okay. Not every data will be stored in a single table. There is a login table, so it is only stored the login details. So these all you will not be doing. Just don't worry. Just understand what are database. Okay, these all will be done by the database developer or the DBA guys. Okay, you just need to understand how actually the thing is structured or is designed, so that it will be easier for you. If you know the structure, then it will be easier for you to what access it or use it. Just like uh, this, you go to a mechanic shop, right? For the two-wheeler, they are not developing their bike, but they have understand the engine, every components of that bike. So for they, it's easier for them to repair, but they are not the developer. Similarly, you will not design all these tables and all, but you need to understand the structure so that you can correlate while testing. Okay, because while doing functional testing, you just not be testing that yes, this is when I'm testing this, I'm not testing this application that this is appearing in this area is okay, this is okay, this is okay, this data is okay, that data is okay. No, you also need to validate in some scenario that the data which here it is fetching is the exact same data which is stored in the database or not. It may happen in database for this particular field which is fetching from a particular cell from the database. It is stored SSS print 2, but it is showing SSS print 1. So this also you need to validate. Exact data which is stored in the database is getting displayed here or not. Okay. In some scenarios, okay. Now see, in relational database, we have multiple tables and multiple tables store different data, but each tables are interrelated with each other. Each tables are interrelated with each other, so they form a relations. So first we store your data in a structured way. Okay. Now, when I store data in a structured way, they will be having a relations. They will be interlinked to each other. That is a relational database. Now, I have a user ID. Okay. How it will be interrelated? Let me tell you. Now, customer table I'll do. Okay. Customer table. So what are the, I'll create the ID. First name. Name. Yes. ID number. So So I'm going to get one more table. That is. What table I'll create? Personal details. Below, number. Who's which number? So one ID number. This much. This. Now see how data is stored. This is the login table. Okay. It's okay. Now see, there will be three tables. Okay. In real time, there are thousands and thousands of tables. So just I'll show you one basic relations and the structure in which the data is stored in a relational database. Okay. So let's say there is a login table. So here what will happen? Here we will be having a user ID. Okay, which will store the user ID and just the username and password of that. User ID is a system generated unique code assigned to every person who is trying to log into the system. Just assume that user ID, just like you are using this bank and all, right? You have a certain customer ID, right? When you use a bank, you must have noticed that there is a consumer ID generated for you. That is always unique. That will not be same with any other consumer ID. Okay. Or the account number it is generating for you. That is always unique, right? It will not be same with the others account number. Is generated for you. Same when you create a login to the particular system. The system generates a unique user ID for you. So the user ID, we have three columns in this table. One is user ID, which will store the user IDs of that usernames of those persons, then the username and password of those persons. Okay, so this will be the first table. So it is stored in a structured way. That means it is stored with columns and the values in the table. Next comes the customer table. So what happens in the customer table? Again, we store the details, user ID, first name, last name, and address and the government ID. So user ID will be the one which is generated by the system. Then the first name and last name as per the data entered. Then the address as per the data entered and the government ID number as per the data entered. Similarly, personal details. So government ID, age, nationality, marital status says everything what the user have entered or the data have been stored for that particular user. This you understood how you created this three table? Yes, only Bhadiwal is there. Okay.
Yes, yeah, Pratik.
Okay, now when I have created this three table, so you see there is a relation between the table. Maybe I can tell you, tell me the nationality of the user with user ID ST23. If I just see these two table, I cannot tell that because there is no relation between those two table. But what I can do a chain relation. That means I will relate this to this table. How I can relate? There is a user ID which is present in this table also, this table also. So for Anil Sharma username, I have user ID ST23. So I'll go to this customer table. I'll see for ST23. This is the details. Now I want to fetch the data from this one. What is the nationality?
So government
Sure.
ID is
So
same in
here I have a
both.
government ID here. I have government ID here. So I'll check in this table the government ID 432. What is the nationality value? Japanese. So yes, I can tell that Anil Sharma what nationality is Japanese. So why I am able to do this? Because it is in a structured way and there is also a relations between the tables so that I can fetch the value. Okay, because you cannot store all the value in a single table. Here I am just giving an example so that you are seeing that yeah, there are just 4 or 5 columns and just 2 3 data entered. But in real time, the table amount will be huge. It will be having around 10-15 columns. Okay, a single table only, and there will be 1,000 to 2,000 tables for your application. So you cannot just store everything in a single table. So you have to segregate it. If you go on storing in the single table, you yourself will be getting confused. Okay, while creating the table for the developer it will be confusing, and for the person who will try to describe it, for him or her also it will be confusing. So you have to segregate or subdivide into different tables so that it will be stored in a structured way. Understood? Just like the godown, if you pile of all the product at once, will not, if I tell you to find it, you will not be able to find it. But the same thing when you go to the supermarket to find it, very easily you can find it. Why? Because it is stored in a structured way. Same here. You cannot store the whole data in a structured way because in real time you'll see the tables, even the single table will have maybe 10-15 column in it. So there will be such like 1,000 tables. So if you go on accumulating everything in a single table, it will hard for the developer to develop and also for the person who want to see the data. So we segregate into different table, we store data in a structure and create a relation between the table so that I can just retrieve data easily through a common chain of relations in the table. Clear? Anyone puzzle?
Yeah, clear.
Puzzle, you are clear? Good. Puzzle, you are on mute because speaking. Okay, so I guess you are on mute still. Okay, then next we understand what is a relational model. Now we have understood what is a DBMS, the software tool which is used to manage our database. Similarly, out of this database, which software tool will manage a relational model type of database that is called RDBMS. That's it. Just it is subset of DBMS, but it is specific to those database which store data in a relational model. Okay. The software which handles or manages the data which is stored in a relational model that is called RDBMS or relational database management system. So this is the basic, this is the one only which will be studying. Okay. So there are various RDBMS like SQL, MySQL, Oracles. Okay.